big topic for today. Saving our beautiful culture. Our beautiful Judeo-Christian European culture. And why it's so important to save. It's so important to save because it is civilization. Is that where civilization started? No. But the first world that we know of today is European culture and American culture. It is a culture of civilized people, of rules, laws, beautiful architecture, innovation, success, charity, beautiful churches. It is a godly culture above all things. It is a godly culture and must remain so. We are a beautiful people. And for too long, our culture and people that follow it and care about it have sat quietly and been ran over. And we've watered ourselves down, our culture and our nations down to fit into other cultures that have came here. And that's not how it's supposed to be. Early immigrants here came from Europe. They were never going to have a problem assimilating into the melting pot. Then you get a lot of Cuban influence, South American influence, and early immigrants from there. They came here for opportunity to work. They love America. Go to Miami and you see the Cuban people are some of the most patriotic people you ever meet. Do they play dominoes and drink Cuban coffee at home? Yes. But they have fit in perfectly to American culture. And their culture added something unique to one American city. They did not try to force their culture on us, and we did not water our culture down for them. And that's why it's such a great mix. There is now a culture of immigrants that have came here for the last 20 years, not for that work ethic, not for that opportunity, not to assimilate, but to shove their flags in our face, to come here to live off of people that have achieved the American dream. They come here for welfare that our European culture has provided to them. They've came here for all the wrong reasons, and it shows. And we must stop accepting it. The black culture, this is not a skin thing, but the black culture fit in. Many of them fit in beautifully with our culture, with the European culture, born here, raised here, American as could be, American as you and me, successful, educated, just a Judeo-Christian, beautiful people, beautiful culture. Yet they let the minority of the black culture that destroy neighborhoods, loot, riot, have children out of wedlock, make criminals heroes. They've been too quiet and let that part of their culture percolate into American culture. And now when people think of black communities and black neighborhoods, because too many good black people have been quiet, that's what America thinks of. And it's no different for white people. For too long, we've let white liberals define our culture. And now we're getting to a point where we're finally stepping up and we're not accepting it no more. We demand better. Black Americans should demand better. All Americans should demand better. We should demand that our culture in America, derived from a European culture, is what stands, is what goes forward, is worth fighting for, because you look all over the world where it's lost, and look what they've lost. Help me with this stat, Emil. 70%, I believe, of children in the last 12 years born in England are Muslim.
Yeah, I believe that's how the stat goes, 70%. And I think that is very scary, and that also means America is the last place that holds out Western hope.
And they're coming here in big numbers. Look at Michigan. Look at the city they tried to develop in Texas. They were going to put a Sharia law ran community in Texas.
Wow.
and the governor stepped up to stop it. So there's that aspect. Also in our culture, women and men. I believe recently men have hit rock bottom. Fathers abandoning their kids, white and black, but it's a huge problem in the black community. I believe 60% of children are not raised with a father at home, something ridiculous like that. But it's an American problem, black and white. Men, and if you look at all these liberal men that have no idea how to be a man, men have hit rock bottom. Now, good men are starting to realize their value. They've seen other good men for decades be taken advantage of, child support, alimony, terrible women, and they stopped getting married. And now you have a younger generation like Emil they're doing everything the right way, knowing their value, building their value, and waiting to get married. The problem now is women haven't realized they've hit rock bottom too. So you're going to have a generation of men that know their value when women haven't started knowing that yet. Young women, think about being a wife. You had a single mom at home, you didn't get a chance to see her be a wife, that doesn't matter. You need to think about being a wife young, before the baggage, before the body count, before the tattoos, before the disgusting habits, before another man's kids that's not going to stay with you. Think about being a wife, because young men now are thinking about being husbands earlier than my generation was. And just that alone, and that goes for all Americans, black, white, Spanish, doesn't matter. That goes for all Americans. That part of culture is huge, and we have to do better. Young men are starting to do it. Continue to do better, young men. And women, you have to wake up. This leftist mentality of what it is to be feminine, what it is to be a woman, a strong, independent woman, it's killing you guys. It's killing your value, and it's killing our culture, and we have to do better. Emil, is that something, knowing how hard it's been for you, I know girls talk to you, girls check you out all the time, I see it, and you are like, nope, I'm waiting. Because I know it worries me for you. You waiting for the right woman, does it worry you? Because do you think by the time you're established and ready to look for a woman, they're getting, every day you wait, they're getting worse and worse. If you wait to 21, 22, does it scare you that you won't be able to find a good woman?
No, I'm not too worried. I think Tallahassee gives us a bad sense of bad perception, because women in Tallahassee tend to be garbage. But I don't mean that in a bad way, but they tend to be.
Not in a bad way. Good garbage.
Yeah. But I know there are women out there. I have one that comes to my head immediately. So I know there's still good women out there, and I'm not too worried. But I do think they're becoming increasingly more and more rare. So when you find them, you have to realize they're valuable and take your chance and go after them and make them your wife.
Yeah. Like I said, our people my age and definitely generations before me have dropped the ball on protecting our culture, protecting every aspect of it, the Judeo-Christian values of it, the Europeanness of it, the beauty of art and architecture, all these things that we've let slip and we've lost over the decades. My generation is finally waking up to it. But for years, we were scared of terms like racism, homophobia, is Islamophobia. We were scared of these things. Now we know it's up to us to change that narrative. Will your generation be the first to be completely unapologetic about how beautiful our culture is and wanting to save it?
I really hope so. Although I think when it comes to culture, the answer is actually no, because I think there's too many of us. I think it's like 70-30. I think 70% still hold that scared of homophobia, scared of Islamophobia, all of that stuff. And the other 30% seems to have a stronger core, stronger moral value. And I do think that 30% is probably going to be the one that raises in politics. So I think politically, we're going to be good. But culture-wise, I still think the majority of us are missing something. And I want to talk about what you're saying with losing the culture over time. I really think there's only one answer to this. And I think it's that if you're a Judeo-Christian and you're conservative, you have to make it your goal to repopulate. Because if we lose our population like what's happening in Britain, that is a very big problem. We have to make sure that we stick to being the majority. If we become the minority, that is how countries fall. When countries stop having God involved, you can say goodbye to your country.
Absolutely. And it starts with each individual. It starts with each household, each church. Don't be ashamed of who you are. I don't care if you're black, white, where you come from. Don't be scared of your roots. Don't be scared of who you are. But if you are white, it's okay to be white. You don't have to be guilty about it. We've done amazing things for this nation and for the world and humanity in general. Don't be scared to be who you are. If you are if you love this nation, no matter what color are, you love it all the way. You call it like you see it. We're not perfect. Our government is definitely not perfect. But what our founders have established in this nation and the gift the almost 400 million of us have to be born here, it's something worth protecting. Don't be ashamed of it. If you are a Judeo-Christian, speak on it. Speak on it. You know what's going on with this leftist mentality and that side of our culture. You know it's wrong. And the fact that it slipped this bad and this far is our fault for being quiet. We, the good people, all the good people of America, all the good people of the European culture, no matter what color, we have to be more vocal. We cannot not let the minority describe us. We cannot let them speak for us. We cannot let them be the example that we give to the world. The silent majority that care about our culture, that care about freedom, the Constitution, God, we have to be more aggressive. We have to become more extreme. If you're right wing, become a right wing extremist. We have to take it to where they've taken it. They're pushing harder than ever before because they're finally starting to get some pushback. For decades, they didn't have to come off as extremists because we were handing everything away like candy.
If you see something that is blatantly evil, it is your job to step in and say something.
Absolutely.
Because we have been silent for too long and have held the view that, people can have whatever opinions they want. And as that is true, you can have whatever opinions you want. But when you go out there and start voicing it, somebody has to be on the other side voicing as well that your opinion is terrible, if it is bad.
That's it. We got to call it how we see it. An interesting thing about immigration, you listen to older generations of immigrants that came here the right way. And you know what they can't stand? The way they're coming now. Illegally sneaking through the back door, demanding welfare. They are calling out their own. Listen to black conservatives. You know a black conservative from a black Democrat immediately. And black conservatives are calling out their own. Our families have to do better. Looting is not right. We can't keep destroying cities. Call out your own. Same with white Americans. We got to call it how we see it. No matter what, don't be scared to call it how you see it. Whatever subpopulation, whatever color these people are, if it's other white people, if it's Republicans, any time you see bad, like Emil said, it doesn't matter. When you see something bad for our culture, bad for politics, bad for our children, not biblical, call it out. You cannot be scared of what people that don't know you say about you. We have to lose the fear of that. I've been called racist 1,000 times. You know who never called me racist? People that actually know me, know my life, know my family, know my friend circle. People who don't know me love to say it. I don't care anymore. Yeah, if I'm called racist for calling things how I see it, so be it. So be it. But I call out everyone, and we have to get to that level. You cannot be scared to save our culture. Big topic. Saving the culture, part 2. Wasn't sure where we were going to go on this at first, but because of the riots and because of a conversation I had this week with my cousin in Cuba, We're going to talk about what we believe are the three biggest threats to our culture and our nation, because our nation is now seems to be the protector of European culture and Judeo-Christian culture. So the three biggest threats, I'm going to tie them all in to welfare. All the three biggest threats, we're going to tie right into the welfare state. The first biggest threat to our nation, therefore our culture, I believe is our national debt. We are $36 trillion in debt. This is it's not a real number. This is like counting grains of sand along a beach. This is a debt we can never, I don't think, ever fully pay back. And I don't think the people that believe we could grow our way out of said debt are right. If we lose our ability to protect our borders, to run a military, to keep our streets civil, to push and protect our culture. If our country goes bankrupt, if America goes bankrupt, and we cannot do those things, and we cannot protect Europe, the culture's done. We are the protector of European culture. We are the protector of the Judeo-Christian religion and values. With a bankrupt America, those things are finished. We're not enough of the population. We don't have the strength without our money to protect and push these things. And I'm going to say something that politicians are scared to say. Welfare must end. Medicaid, Medicare, yes, Social Security, even though people say it's not welfare, SNAP, food stamps, all these things must end. They are killing us. They are bankrupting us. As a government, if you want to get behind any kind of welfare system, let's make it for absolute emergencies only. You want to talk to me about that? You want to have a debate about that? I'm okay with that. What we have turned the welfare state into is absolutely killing us financially. Number two, multiculturalism. For other cultures to come here and embrace or assimilate into European culture, into American culture, for other religions to embrace what it is to be Judeo-Christian, that's beautiful, because it is the top of the top. It is the most civilized. It is the most beautiful culture. It is the most advanced culture, the most innovative culture, the richest culture. It is the upgrade to every culture there is. So when other people want to assimilate into that, it is a direct upgrade for their culture. When we give that and share that and push that to the rest of the world, it is an upgrade for all of humanity. It is beautiful if you want to come here, partake in that, assimilate in that. It's great. Us pushing it to the rest of the world so they could be part of it is great. When the rest of the world and lesser people and lesser cultures come here, they become a drag. It drags us down. We water ourselves down to fit in to said multiculturalism. Is there room in America for small bits? Is there room in Europe for small bits of multiculturalism? Yeah, of course. But diversity, the way it's been sold to us, and the amount of multiculturalism we have now, and the smaller and smaller and smaller amount of those cultures that want to actually assimilate, that kind of diversity is not a strength like the left tries to tell you. It is a weakness, because we are the most beautiful, sophisticated, civilized culture. They can only upgrade, yet they can only downgrade us when we try to water ourselves down to fit in for them. The way welfare fits into this is because there was at one time immigration and immigrants that came here to assimilate and to work, They came for the work ethic, for the opportunity. Beautiful thing. For the last 20 or 30 years, that's not why they come. They come for the handouts. They don't come to partake in European culture. They come to take from and feed off of our gratitude, our graciousness, our success, our welfare. End welfare, and it will go a long way to ending that. Number 3 biggest threat, what we believe to our culture, to our nation, is moving away from survival of the fittest. I know it sounds harsh. You're not going to hear a lot of people say it these days. There are certain things for the weak among us. Charities, churches, giving. It's great. I'm not saying let them starve. I'm not saying let them die. But our welfare state has created a system where the weakest among us are rewarded the most and populate the most with no consequences. Because we are not taking care of them through charities and through giving. We are taking care of them through the forced theft of taxation. We are taking care of them through a forced welfare system where the most responsible, the richest among us, the doers among us are being punished and having to think about how many children we have because we know a bigger and bigger portion of our taxes is going to the weakest and most irresponsible among us. We have to get back to survival of the fittest. Give people, instead of taking money for Social Security, give people that money. And if they can't figure out through their lifetime how to use that money to better their future and to retire, I'm sorry, they should retire homeless. Stop giving people the money to go to the doctor for every cough, every stomach ache, every small thing, when the reason they're unhealthy is because of their own choice. Take away Medicaid, Medicare. And if you are truly not smart enough to know how to eat and what not to do for your health, there's consequences to that. If you don't last, you don't last. Stop giving the most irresponsible among us money for having kids and then having kids and then having kids to where they start to see their children as a paycheck. Especially these communities like the Mexican, South American community and the Muslim community, which averages 5 kids per adult female. The Muslim American community averages 5 kids per adult female in America. I'm not sure what it is in the Middle East. In America, they average 5 kids per family. The average American family, I don't know if all American, the average white American family averages 1.5.
Jeez.
Yet we are paying for and taking care of everyone else's children through what we pay in tax. Welfare has to end. Emil, those three things, national debt, multiculturalism, diversity, whatever you want to call it, and survival of the fittest. Do you agree those are threats to our culture? And what are your thoughts on them?
Absolutely, I agree that they're threats to the culture. And I'm going to go through them one by one and give my thoughts. First, on the national debt. We all know, especially the people that listen to this podcast, one of the main causes throughout history for nations falling is their national debt. And we should look for any excuse to drop that. And I think welfare is just another example of things that deserve to be dropped. It has overgrown what its initial purpose was. I think when they had very basic things, maybe like WIC, and it just lasted for a couple of months if you really needed it, maybe there's a place for that in society. We're no longer a third world country. I can understand it. But as of now, we should cut everything and start from the bare bottom and decide what's absolutely necessary. And I think that's the best way to go for it. Because if we keep letting the debt grow as it is eventually going to be bigger than the entire economy. And when that happens, you have a bankrupt country. Another thing that me and him were talking about, this isn't really welfare related, but we should cut the interest off of our debt. That would save $1 trillion a year, and I think that's a super easy one. And the next thing is multiculturalism. And I absolutely agree with the point that you made that when people used to come over here, they used to come for the sake of prospering and growing into the nation and assimilating and actively contributing to the nation to bring it up. But now when people come here, not all, there's some good ones, there's ones that come on invite and stuff like that. But now, a lot of times when people come here, they come here for the welfare. They come here because they know life is easy, but not life is easy in the sense that they can get a job and provide for their family, but in the sense that they can sit on their couch and do nothing and repopulate and still have enough money to send a check back to their home country.
Yep.
And the problem is, when that happens, they don't feel gratitude towards America. They still feel they belong to their home country. Look at all of these Mexican riots in California. These people have likely been collecting welfare this whole time, and that hasn't made them thankful to America for prospering. It made them want to take over America even more.
Mm-hmm.
And
survival of the fittest.
When you talked about children, that 5-to-1 stat is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes to say we have to repopulate more. We talk about this in almost every episode, but I think it's still the case. If we're getting outpopulated 5-to-1, we're going to lose our country in just a few decades. And that's sad because we're not losing it to good people. We're losing it to barbarians and savages. And okay, survival of the fittest. I think welfare, actually, this one is my biggest problem with welfare, is it takes out survival of the fittest. And I think it's a great thing for humanity as a whole that the best survive and thrive. But what it does is it creates this lazy mindset in people that they know even if they fail, well, they don't even have to try. They know if they don't have to try, they can still live, collect a check, have children. They know the more children they have, the more welfare they get. So they're entitled to it.
Yep.
And it creates this cycle where the wuss, like you said, populate more than the people that are actually contributing to society. And I want to bring up one more thing that I don't think you brought up, which is actually a fourth topic. I think welfare takes God out of society because what used to happen is we used to pray to God for prosperity, and now we don't. We look at government for prosperity, and when that happens, I think your country starts to fall.
Absolutely, and that is also a anchor of communism. It is that is the basis for socialism, is to get God out of the household, get God out of the mind, and replace it with almighty government. Big topic for the day. What is the biggest threat to our culture? Last time we talked about a threat to our nation, and we tied it all back to welfare. But the biggest threats to our culture as we know it, the beautifulness of European culture, Western civilization, American culture, I believe right now there's two huge threats going on. One, it's what we've done to the nuclear family. The left has purposely got fathers and God out of the home. Then they moved on to getting mothers out of the home in a sneakier way. They convinced mothers that a better fit for them than being home with their children, than being homemakers, than being wives, was to be in the workforce, to be boss bitches, to be all the other things that society has made sound important. So now we have about 30 years of this single mother experiment, and it's a failure. In every stat you could measure, it is a failure. Not just because children need their father. That's obvious. Also in every stat measurable, children with fathers do better. But it's because children need you, women. They need you. They need their mothers. They need their loving mothers to be home. Well, the father works and is a provider, which is our natural role. You make the home. You nurture the home. You nurture the children. I understand some women have to work, and I'm not knocking anyone that has to work. However, women, stop sleeping with deadbeats. And that wouldn't be the case. Look for a provider, a protector, a professor, or somebody that could teach. Look for the right kind of men, and you'll be able to be a traditional woman, wife, biblical, godly mother. It is not the fact that fathers are removed from the family and the home. It is the fact that mothers also are not able to just sit home and be who they're supposed to be. It's also done things in our culture like run up inflation. You can see direct correlations. The more women get into the workforce, the more companies know they could charge two-income households for things. Inflation and prices skyrocket because of such. Women, our children need you. Men need you. Households need you. If you have to work, I get it. But the most important role you have, the most godly role you have, is to be a mother and a wife. And moving away from that is killing our culture. The other biggest threat, I believe, right now in today's world is the left purposely allowing and bringing Islamists into our nation. I'm not talking about peaceful Muslims, and I know there are some. The problem is Islamists and Muslim extremists fight wars for hundreds of years. Send the peaceful ones in, radicalize their children. Let non-peaceful Muslims pretend to be peaceful till it's time for them to rise up. We had 4 years of unchecked borders. We've already made 1,600 arrests of individuals we believe had ties to terror. Islam has already begun to dominate Europe. They will do the same here. Sharia law and Islamists, like I said, I'm not talking about peaceful Muslims, but even that gets iffy. Sharia law and Islamists do not mix with our culture nor our constitution. They do not mix with our people nor our nation. Look at Europe, what they've given away. We cannot keep up with how they breed, and they know that. This is how they take over countries in a quarter of a century. It's exactly what they do. We better wake up to this fast before we are in an even worse situation than Europe. Sharia law must be outlawed. It doesn't mesh with our Constitution, so it should never be able, we shouldn't have to make laws for these things. It doesn't mesh with our Constitution. We better go ahead and get some laws on the books banning Sharia law immediately. And invitations of Muslim immigrants needs to be as limited as possible. The other threat is us. It's us. It's us becoming complacent, us becoming lazy, us not showing up. The silent majority has been trampled in our nation and our culture. And if we don't step up and start saying hard truths, we become our biggest threat. We become the biggest danger. So even though these things are hard to talk about, women, we need you in our homes. Islamists don't belong in America or in European culture. These are not easy things to say. We better start worrying about what's right and what must be said, or we become our biggest threat. Emil, any thoughts on any of those things?
Yeah, I guess I'll just go through them all individually. So, first with the nuclear family, I think it is the proper family structure. to have the man lead. And I think you brought up a very important point, which is as women have got into the workforce, all of a sudden costs have gone up and inflation has basically just matched as if they weren't in the workforce. So I want to ask you, what is in general the way for society to go back to where things are cost efficient for just a man to be working?
Inflation has to go down, obviously. You know, we've talked about this before, getting back on some kind of financial backing, getting the national debt down, keeping energy production up. That energy production, oil production changes the price of everything around us. I think more women staying home so that companies know they're charging a man one worker instead of two incomes. There's so many things we could do to make it affordable for one income again to be enough for a household. There's a plethora of things we could do, and companies, industries, they will adjust their pricing if they see that this is what people want. When they see more and more women staying home, more and more men being the traditional provider, companies and industries will adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And the other thing on the topic of nuclear family is I want to mention, if women are staying at home, it heavily encourages homeschooling.
Absolutely.
Which would get indoctrination that we worry about out of households. All of a sudden kids would grow up more conservative, more religious. They wouldn't question their sexuality by the age of 6.
Yep.
And I think overall for culture, you talk about saving a culture, if we have a generation of homeschooled kids, that would be a huge change.
And we've made it easy for the left. First you get the man out of the home. So there goes your discipline and your main teacher in the home. Then you get women out of the home. And you're left with children that are raised in indoctrination camps at school, and whatever garbage cartoons their media makes and whatever garbage content they put online. The left has been brilliant in that way.
And okay, I guess the next thing was Islamist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to Islamist, it's interesting because on one hand there's regular Muslims, and I think I've met regular Muslims and they actually tend to be fairly conservative and actually vote Republican, I'm pretty sure.
Very conservative people.
Aren't the problem. The problem is these extremists over here in the Middle East, and the ones that Democrats are encouraging to come to America, sneak through our borders. They're the people that did 9/11. And those people we heavily have to worry about. And I think a big problem with them is how quickly they populate. You mentioned this. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I know one of the answers is we simply have to have more children to outpopulate them.
Yep.
But for two, we have to find a way to get these people out of our country. If they're not here legally, if they're chanting death to America, there has to be a way to get them out of here without it being a complete debacle. And, okay, the third thing is us. And actually, I think of all the problems we just listed, this is the biggest one. Because everything falls onto our shoulders. And we sort of just have to admit that it's our fault. It's our fault for letting these things happen. And even if it's not specifically you, yes, it was the generations before us that have messed up. But now it's our job to fix it. And we have to think of that. And the problem is, we're not. We're sitting back and we're just being complacent, not wanting to speak up because we don't want to offend anyone.
Yep. Timid.
We're scared. Well, we're not scared, but some people are scared to go to the synagogues and churches because of all of this stuff happening in the Middle East. But you still have to go. You have to show that there's support for these things. And yeah, just keep
supporting conservative and religious values.
Also, Emil, you brought up a good point earlier. You said that you weren't even alive during 9/11, but you feel like you think about it more so than society and people that were alive during 9/11.
Yeah.
On the Islamic situation.
People always say don't forget about 9/11, but in reality, I think most of America has already forgotten about 9/11. We heard an interesting stat today, which was after 9/11, 90% of Republicans felt like they were proud to be American, and 86% of Democrats felt like they were proud to be American. Just 25 years later, the stats have changed drastically. 92% of Republicans feel proud to be an American. Only 36% of Democrats feel proud to be American.
I didn't need a poll for that. Did you need a poll for that?
No.
I know that. I see it. I see it. I see it on social media. I see where I'm out about. These people will fly any flag other than our own. Our flag and anything American is literally their kryptonite. It weakens them. It turns them into mush. They can't take an American flag. Oh God. They can't take it. They'll fly any other flag besides ours. I didn't need a poll to tell me that.
No. But I think it shows how much the culture has shifted in just 25 years.
Yep.
And even back then, Democrats weren't good in the year 2001.
They're already going
But
extreme, yeah.
that's a 60% decrease. That's insane.
First, the big topic. Saving our Judeo-Christian European culture and Americanism, American values, American tradition. These are the fixes. You could talk about problems so much. You could complain about problems so much. Eventually, it's time for us to fix things. The big fixes to America's biggest problem, the world's biggest problem, problems. Number one is, because it ties into everything, we have to get back to God. Every individual, every home, every country, we have to get back to God. We have to beat the left. Tying directly into that, we have to end welfare and the mindset that comes with it. We have to get back to survival of the fittest. We cannot continue to go against nature. We, the silent majority, we have to be more aggressive. We cannot continue to be the world's doormat. We cannot continue to get ran over. And if these things are to fail, if somehow we cannot do this as a complete nation, we have to be willing to get over the map and do what we have to do to save the republic, even if that means splitting our nation. The threats we're facing now, we are, as a country, as a people, losing our godliness. We are giving away and losing our culture. We are losing what it means to be American and Americanism. We have lost and destroyed our family structure. We are losing, which is a huge threat to our nation, capitalism and free markets. The threats all seem to come from the left and their mindset. Now think about those threats and problems I just mentioned, and think about the fixes I mentioned, and they all coincide. God fixes hearts and minds. How important is that family structure? Women, we need you to do better. We need you to be wives and mothers, and we need you to think about this and worry about this at a younger age before you give your purity away, before you ruin yourself for a good man. Getting back to God solves that. Men, you have to do better. We can't continue to have children that we leave. We can't continue to make families that we abandon. Getting back to God solves that. Getting back to God immediately improves the outcome of our children. So we have to get back to God. Now imagine the effect of this not only on America in general, yes, but in the black community. Black men in America are 7% of our population. They commit 50% of the violent crimes. Now, we always say you have to call out your own, and we agree. Why we believe this is not a color issue is because this is not the way black conservatives act. This is not the way black conservatives' families are. This is not so much a color issue. This is a left Democrat mindset issue. Black America, you have to get back to God, as all of America does. But imagine the impact on your community. The other fix that ties right into this, and I believe, yes, it will have an amazing impact on America in general, but especially on the black community, would be ending welfare and the mindset that comes with it. This is a mindset that has killed America, and it's been done on purpose. You end welfare. Get back to accountability. Get back to having to earn something. Take care of your own refrigerator. Take care of your own mortgage. Take care of your own retirement. It is time for us to completely end welfare and watch what happens when we do. Not only will this improve every American family in the mindset, not only will this keep fathers in the home, not only will this make women choose better men and let deadbeats finally die off, which is what survival of the fittest is. You have to be willing to let those that can't pass. The other thing ending welfare will do is completely dry up immigration. You want to save money on border walls and ICE agents? Get rid of welfare. Muslims, which happen to be a huge threat to our culture, they average 5 kids a woman. Now, think about the Democrat strategy of bringing people here, addicting their family to welfare, and having votes for generations. You wonder why there's an influx of Muslims in Texas, Michigan, Tennessee, all over these places, California. You wonder why the influx of Muslims? It is a Democrat strategy for votes. No different than what they did to the black community. No different than why Mexicans and South Americans have been coming here the last 20 years. It is to be addicted to welfare and have children. It is time to end welfare. In doing so, not only do you strengthen the family structure, not only do you improve mindsets, you essentially end the Democrat Party and the stronghold the left has had on our nation and our society for the last 30, 40, 50 years maybe. End welfare. Now, think about what that would do to our free market in our economy. We have completely got away from capitalism, what it is to be a capitalist, and free markets. We have, what is our national debt at, Emil?
38 trillion.
A $38 trillion debt. This is not sustainable. getting away from capitalism is a direct threat. Ending welfare, our biggest entitlement, one of our biggest debt contributors, one of our mindset killers, will instantly make people get back to capitalism. It will instantly begin to reduce our debt and grow our economy. Then people can truly have more power with their currency, with their dollar. Then one male provider could begin to again take care of a household. Then women can again focus on being a mother and a wife. Then we get back to nature and survival of the fittest. Getting back to God, ending welfare, getting back to survival of the fittest. Calling out our own and the silent majority, no longer being silent, but being aggressive. All these things is what will fix our nation. All these things is what will beat the left as we currently know it. The white liberal is the most dangerous thing in Western Hemisphere. Not my words, Malcolm X's words. And it's 100% true. Now, what could this look like? What could getting back to God look like? Get him back in your hearts and your mind as individuals. Get God back in your home. Get God back in our schools. Get God back in our movies and our music. And imagine the way America will change. Welfare. We have churches, we have charities. As far as government welfare goes, it should be for absolute short-term emergencies only. That's how you end welfare. Making life affordable again by saving capitalism. More time with your families, more time to worship God, women back in the homes. All these things are a direct correlation from making our currency and our money strong again. We have to get back to capitalism. Those are the fixes. Get back to God, truly beat the left, change mindsets, change hearts. And that's how we save Judeo-Christian culture, European culture, and everything it is to be American that we are giving away. We have to stop giving it away. And constantly listing the problems and constantly complaining about them is not the fix. We know the problems. We know the fixes. It's time for us to do. Emil, it's time for us to focus on the fixes. Tell me your thoughts on what I just said. Tell me what you do to fix the problems and what you believe your generation will do to fix America's problems.
Yeah, so I'm going to start by saying I think you hit all of the big topics very good. And I want to take it to more of a personal, like what we ourselves can do on a day-to-day. So when you say to be more godly, I think what that actually looks like in a day-to-day sense would be get into churches. Let's start filling up churches again more often. Get your kids in churches, because if they grow up in the church, that's what they're going to know for their life. When you're in the car, don't blast rap music if your kids are involved in, because then that's what they grow up knowing. And make sure that you exercise, make sure that you're eating better, because then when it's time for you to repopulate, survival of the fittest, you will be the fittest. You'll be in good shape. And in terms of what I'm personally doing, I go to synagogue every weekend with you. Well, technically it's online right now, and we go to Sunday church. I'm like you said, I'm actively trying to look for a wife instead of just hookups. I exercise, I try to think about my diet. Basically everything you just talked about. In terms of fixing the capitalist problem, I think cutting down debt would be a huge part because then the market does well. And I think encouraging people to open up business again and start thinking for themselves. In school, we get pushed down this mindset of being a worker for someone else so hard that people almost forget they can work for themselves and start their own business. So if you teach your kids that and teach yourself that at a young age, you can actually work for yourself and create your own things, I think that's beautiful. And what I think you can do with your business is I think you can tie it in with God. Like I think you can everything else. When you run operations, don't run operations through pure greed sense. Do it for the sake of helping others, and money will be a byproduct of that. And overall, yeah, I think that's the main thing for the human culture.
I think there's one other thing that you do, Emil, that you do personally, but I think your generation is going to be great at, as to where my generation, not me, but many people in my generation had to learn and kind of get over that hump, is that you are not scared to say hard truths. You're not scared to say what has to be done. You're not scared of the labels they're going to give you. You're not scared of the attacks you're going to get. And I know for you, you used to tell me this was a thing, even in middle school, that you and your teachers would kind of go back and forth. So I think another thing you do personally that you didn't mention is you are not scared to call out the problems and do the solutions. And I think that's huge for you and for your generation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that just came from seeing you and I grew up. Which I think if you have one thing to gather about anything from this episode, whatever you do and however you act is how your kids are typically going to follow. So if you want your kids to be godly, if they see you actively going to church, they're going to want to go to church. If they see you calling out evil, they're going to grow up knowing it's okay to call out evil. If they see you eating properly, they're going to want to eat properly. Just however you want your kids to act that way around them. And even, this goes even not with your kids, but just people in your life. Something that we do is we keep peanuts and water in our truck. And whenever people come in our truck and they see us pass out peanuts and water to homeless people, they're always like, wow, that's a great idea. And we now know people that have actively started implementing that who are just our friends. So if people see you acting in this godly manner, they will also start acting godly. Not everybody, but just imagine if each person changed the way 3 or 4 people changed their mindset. That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And we always say it. We say, you know, if you are one of these people, have one of these pages, if you're on social media, if you run a church, whatever it is you do, and you get frustrated about the 10, 20, 30, 40 people you reach, the 40 viewers you get, if in your mind you're constantly thinking to yourself, why aren't, you know, I'm saying good things, why aren't more people listening? Why can't I reach people? You are. Reach every individual, even like Emil said, in your home. If you reach 2 kids in your home, you're making a world of difference. If you reach 40 viewers on social media, you're making a world of difference when millions of us begin to do it and do the right thing. We cannot see our own impact when we're looking at it as just Emil or just Daniel. But when you look at us moving as a whole, when you see us trying to fix things as a whole, getting back to God as a whole, that's when you could only understand the true impact of reaching small numbers of people. You can't look at it like that. We are part of something bigger. We are part of a movement. We are part we are part of doing something godly that may be God driven, God pushed. We are, I can't explain it, but I feel like all of us are truly part of something bigger. We are truly part of saving our culture, saving our nation, saving what it is to be a Judeo-Christian. We are a part of that. Whether you reach someone in your work truck because you're passing out water and peanuts, or whether you have 1,000 followers, or whether you have a full church or 2 people in your church, we are part of something bigger. Always keep that in mind.
Also, whenever you call out things, sometimes it doesn't instantly change the person's mind, and what it will instead do is just plant a seed that will constantly grow, and then it'll change their mind. So at first you might call them out for something, and they'll be like, no, I disagree with you. But then they'll go home and they'll research a little bit, and they'll be thinking, and that's when it changes their mind.
Absolutely.
This also happens in groups. Sometimes you'll hear something and you'll debate with someone, and there will be other people around, and the other people won't speak, but the other people will hear the words that you're saying, and then you plant a seed in them. And what they do with that seed doesn't matter, because at least you got it in there, and they have the ability to change their mind and to understand.
This is why on social media I follow as many leftist pages as I do conservative pages. Yeah, I get on there, I talk a lot of junk, people talk junk to me, but I know once in a while I'll hit that open-minded person that's never been exposed to truth, and all of a sudden, like Emil said, just that crack in the door opens up everything. It's why I love to speak to atheists. Not that we agree on everything, and not that I don't respect the disagreement, but I know sometimes, maybe 1 out of 100, I don't know. But once in a while, like Emil said, you'll give that atheist that one seed, and that's all it takes. And don't be afraid to be that speaker in the group, to speak to people that disagree with you. It all truly matters. Saving the culture.
Yeah, I hope my generation is the generation that does it. I hope that your generation is the one that starts to driven us when it comes to politics to be more correct, and I hope mine ends up saving the culture because of that.
Just a thought. Two quick things. This, I wasn't thinking about it before, but I am now just because of the way the conversation goes. There's one possible threat to our nation and culture on the horizon. Will it be? Won't it be? I don't know. But it's possible it's going to be AI. That's going to be the topic of our next series. Another thing this makes me think of, and we've talked about doing this before, is an episode dedicated to Rush Limbaugh. That I believe was truly the catalyst on earthly terms to what's happening today. And I believe one of the most underrated Americans ever. So let's keep in mind, those are the 2 things we have coming up.